Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. I hope you guys are having a great Friday, TGIF. Wow, it's been a day of trying to put up content and TLC continuing to take it down. So, what we're going to do is we're going to stick to content that's already out there on the interwebs. So, here we go. So, Sunday night, there will be a new episode airing of TLC's 90 Day Fiance before the 90 days. This has been a wild season of a lot of very um, colorful cast members and people that, relationships in which there appears to be not a lot of long term prospects, let's just say. So they released a sneak peek for Sunday night's episode called The King of Wishful Thinking, and the sneak peek contains the storylines of Ash and Avery along with Erica and Steph. Now, one of the sticking points that we know of Ash and Avery's storyline and I say this storyline because it's really hard to know at this point, like, what's real and what's not. We know that TLC has this way of sort of manipulating and manufacturing different things and posing and making things appear a certain way and encouraging things, as referenced by the David storyline. Now, according to Katrina, when she joined me yesterday for some sneak peeks of the tell-all. Now, for this, we are sort of coming to the aftermath of what happened with Ash and Avery. And we know that at the end of last week's episode, Avery and Ash sort of came to heads over what Ash says of her not supporting him after he had a very difficult time with his seminar. Now on Instagram this week, Ash referred to that day as the worst day of his life. Now I playfully said that it's not really that big of a deal, Ash. Like you gave a bad seminar, whoop-de-doo. Thinking about this long term, this was sort of his career on the hold. And whether or not I line, and by that utter embarrassment, of course, like appearing this way on TV could effectively end his coaching career, which, let's just be honest, he's not really a coach. He basically memorizes Instagram quotes and he packages things that he reads on Google and gives it to you as his own. So without any sort of credentials as a coach, why he works as a coach is unknown, but perhaps this is a blessing in disguise for him because maybe he'll find something better to do, more constructive to do with his time. Either way, the way that Avery responded was not the best. She was actually kind of assertive and really in his face in a way. And it seems as though the way that it's edited, at least, that Avery has like all of these things that she's sort of worried about, and she's trying to find roadblocks to prevent this relationship from moving forward. Theoretically, there's a lot of reasons and red flags for this relationship not to move forward. For instance, his job, the fact that he has a 10-year-old son, that he claims is going to be able to move to the United States with him, which I 100% do not buy. And then there's this fact that they've broken up multiple times before she even got there. And there's this, sort of push and pull of, Ash trying to say something and then her pulling away and her confronting him. And it just seems as though the way that this is portrayed, that these two have love for each other, but that there's a lot of apprehension on the part of Avery. And perhaps if there is so much apprehension, that maybe it's not the best relationship to move forward with, right? So they are sort of at this stalemate. And last week he calls her heartless. He says that you don't support me. And by the way, his seminar was terrible. What he said was awful. I don't agree with anything of what he said, but I can kind of understand his point of view of like, if you are going to help me out, if you are going to see me going through something really tough, like don't come at me like I'm the bad guy, like support me, love me, show me that you care. And then sort of after I've sort of decompressed and digested, then we can come to a place of conversation and talking about it. She didn't give him that. She was sort of hostile right from the beginning because she didn't like what she heard. Okay, I get it. So in the aftermath of that, they are sort of talking. He's storming off because they're going to go see his ex-wife, Sion, and his 10-year-old son, Taj, finally. And he's packing up his bags and he's like, dude, like, what's going to go on, Avery? Are we going to get together? Or like, are we going to make up? What's happening? And, she's like, well, you told me that I was heartless. You said this, you said that. And like, how would I even want to talk to you if you're calling me heartless? Eventually, after some time, they agree that, like maybe the communication wasn't the best, but, in the best interest of their relationship, they need to both be better communicators, better listeners, and sort of understand that like they both made mistakes in the situation and that they still need to like use this time constructively because she wants to meet his son and his wife and they need to move forward. And so they hug, and it seems as though Avery isn't really totally there. And then when they're driving, she tells Ash she needs space and time. Now, this is interesting because when I had Katrina on from Frauded by TLC, she talked a lot about how Ash was repeatedly ghosted by Avery over the course of their relationship, where she would just they would be dating and they would block, she would like block him and they would break up and like things would just happen. And he would always feel like, where is Avery? What's going on with Avery? And so she's like, well, I need more time. I want my space. I want to be in my own place tonight. I want to stay at my own hotel. And he's like, well, how do we move forward if you need space? And it seems, and he points out to her, like, if you're always going to run away from the problem and have space, like, how do we actually conquer or tackle issues? Good point, Ash. Good point. Like, not a total lover of your philosophies, but I definitely understand your point of view there. Now, she ends up getting her own hotel after like he resigns to it. And I'm noticing a lot that he has to actually sort of like retreat. He expresses what he wants. She doesn't give in. He gets what she wants. He sort of like recoils. And that seems to be their pattern of him bending to her needs, which is why I'm not a huge fan of Avery. So when she finally gets to this place, like she drives, like she gets in a taxi and she goes to meet him at his ex-wife's house. And when she gets there, she's like in the taxi talking about how she needed time, she needed space. But here's the thing, like, she needed time and space. She gets there and she still says she has reservations. She's not sure moving forward about this relationship, but she still needs to meet her in the event that things do work out so that she understands like where his ex-wife is on the page with his son. Her concern is there's no way that Sion would allow her to take Taj out of the country to live with him in the United States, which I have zero belief that that would ever happen as well. So once she gets there, like Ash sort of is like this little puppy dog that like is like, oh, you're going to give me a scrap? I will take it. I will take that scrap you're giving me. And he's like, well, she's here, so she must love me. She's here, so she must care enough to work out, you know? And it's like, she's still very apprehensive. She gets in, they have some coffee. She meets Taj. Taj gives her a hug. His ex-wife is very kind to her. And his ex-wife basically says, like, listen, like, I can see that they're attracted to each other, but I am going to call Ash out if I see that this is going into a very unhealthy, toxic area, because I don't want to have my son in a situation where he would be around this type of thing. Ash is like, admits that he doesn't frequently introduce his ex-wife or Taj to people that he's involved with. And so this is sort of a new thing for him. After some sort of chit-chat banter back and forth, they agree, the two women, to go to a wine bar and have like a private talk where Avery is effectively going to ask Sion about whether or not she's going to allow Taj to move with Ash. So in a second sneak peek, which was not included in the sneak peek that was released on TLC, Entertainment Tonight received an exclusive sneak peek of them at the actual wine bar, and Avery confronts Sion about the fact that Ash has said that we're going to take Taj out of the country, and she said, I have some serious reservations about that because Taj is my whole world. And Avery sort of agrees that, as a mother, she can't imagine allowing her child to sort of move across the world and not have access. And given the fact that they share custody and this mother has Taj so much of the time, I can't under any circumstances see how this would work. Under no circumstances, in fact. She says, Taj is my whole world. I guarantee you, we don't see what the ultimate decision is, but I guarantee you this mother is not going to give it up. No way. No way. As a mother, I could never do that. I could never be like, yeah, you can move to another country and you can take my son. No, not going to happen. So that's what we see for those two. And then obviously cliffhanger, we don't know what the answer will be from the ex-wife. Now, Erica and Steph, this is a whole nother can of worms, because we saw last episode of Erica and Steph actually going over to Erica's parents' house, and they are having dinner, and Erica comes out and basically says this is my girlfriend. And her parents are super supportive and really loving, and they very much it's not as big of a deal as she thought it would be, and they're very much this is just information, we're so happy for you, I always thought that you were sort of unique, but I don't really I never wanted to push you, and if this is what is going to make you happy, I'm fully supportive of that. So the next morning, Stephanie actually wakes up and she has a migraine, but she says that she needs to talk to her mother and finally come out, because she tried to come out to her mom, but she didn't. And so what happens is she and Erica get on the phone and they do a Skype with her mother. And she's about to tell her mom that she's going to come out. But instead, she tells her mom, she's like, I have a confession to make. And she's like, and then her mom's like, what? What? And she's like, I went into a shark tank and, like, saw a shark swimming around me. And her mom, like, freaks out, right? You can't do that with your health. No way, you can't do that. And she completely, like, chickens out, doesn't come out, doesn't say anything, doesn't do it. And then she just tells, like, Erica, like, I can't do it. I can't do this right now. I'm not ready. I don't know what to say. It's not the right time. I don't know what to do. And it's like, Erica seems committed to really taking the next steps to solidifying this relationship. She is doing everything she can to make Stephanie feel comfortable. She's coming out to her parents. She's introducing Stephanie to her friends, trying to make Stephanie feel comfortable with the fact that, like, hey, I pick you, not my friends. Like, my friends will respect you. Don't worry about my friends. Like, this is me. Introducing her to her parents, taking her all over the country, doing, like, excursions with her, trying to show her level of commitment. And Stephanie consistently is, like, pushing back. She's jealous. She needs help with insecurity issues. She's constantly asking Erica to show and prove her love. And yet when the situations are in reverse, Stephanie cannot show the same courtesy to Erica. And instead it's like this sort of, like, thing that we've seen, or at least the way it's portrayed on this show, of, Stephanie really being sort of all about herself, and, like, it's all about me, and it's all about it's all about my illness, and it's all about, like, I'm not who I portray myself on TV or on YouTube. And it's very, I would say, from a perspective of Erica, a confusing place for her to be. And so with her not coming out to her mom and not being honest with her mom, it's again this sort of, like, punch to the gut to Erica of, like, oh, so you're not going to do this for me. So Erica, I'm going to bend over backwards for you, and you're not going to do this for me. Cool stuff. So on the next scene, they actually go over to her friend's house, Adam's, and they're going to do this game, a get to know you game. And it's a game of, like, questions of, like, what have you done? And it's silly things like, have you woken up next to someone and you don't know who they are? Have you ever gotten intimate with an ex? Those types of, like, get to know you questions, but it's anonymous. And so you have to put, like, little chips in it that mean yes or no. And that once you do that, the person has to guess how many yeses and how many no's that there will be. So, and when they get there, she asks, like, Stephanie to just, keep an open mind. Don't get jealous. Don't ask stupid questions. Just really, be yourself, but don't be insecure. And as they're playing the game, some of the questions make Stephanie uncomfortable, but she sort of powers through it and she enjoys it. And her friends and Stephanie sort of come to this place where, like, hey, this is okay. Like, this worked out better. I'm glad that we did this together. I'm glad that we had a chance to sort of come back from the place where we were the last time, where things didn't look very well. Some of her friends actually admit to Stephanie that based on last week, or the last time they had met, they didn't like her and they were concerned about Erica with the factors related to the jealousy. And, Stephanie admitted that she has to work on the jealousy, but it's hard for her because they're going to go back into a long distance relationship and it's hard for her to trust Erica. I don't know why. Erica's, like, proved to this girl over and over and over again how committed she is and how in it she is. And I think in this respect, like, Erica was totally there and Stephanie was not. So they don't show what is supposed to happen, which is an explosive fight. And Erica, like, and her are supposed to go to heads, and Stephanie is supposed to throw something on the floor and slam doors. And I think ultimately what happens is this is going to be a relationship that ends in a split. Now, we've already heard rumblings that these two are barely on speaking terms. They don't follow each other on social media. Erica has been very on the defense throughout the season, sort of, like, reminding people, like, don't settle for these things. Like, I'm better than this. Like, even sort of talking about, like, my friendship with Adam should never have been in question. And she's been very unloving about sort of Stephanie in what she says. Like, she doesn't necessarily, like, say anything in, like, either way. Stephanie, for her part, tries to play this, like, Erica is really great and I'm really glad, and she's trying her best to sort of fake it. But I think it's safe to say, like, these two are probably not together. We'll see what happens in the tell-all, which is supposed to air in a couple weeks. But Katrina mentioned that on sort of some information that she was given to from a source, Erica and Stephanie are not together and they're barely on speaking terms. So we'll have to see moving forward what happens. But I'm guessing that this comes down to Erica not feeling like she's getting what she needs, Erica feeling as though she's been like putting everything into this, and Stephanie making it all about herself. That's just my impression. So, what are your thoughts? Are you, do you think his ex-wife will be like, yeah, take my son and go away? And do you think that Stephanie and Erica are going to end up breaking up because she can't, like, what's going to be the final straw for this relationship to end? What is it going to be? We already know that Ash and Avery are not together because Ash answered on Instagram that they broke up. So what is it going to be? What was the final straw for Ash and what was the final straw for Erica? Let me know in the comments below. Bye, guys.